In the name of the one holy and undivided Trinity, amen. Have a seat. Given what happened this week in Roseburg, it's an appropriate week to talk about suffering. And here we get this reading from Job, which is the book that everyone first thinks of when they think of a discussion of suffering in the scriptures. And he is long-suffering, not only in his lifetime, but also under the weight of centuries of bad interpretation. We're going to be hearing from this book, from the book of Job, every Sunday for the next month. So let's do a quick overview. The book of Job is actually two versions of the same story, one sandwiched in between the other. So there is a prose version of this story that is the one that we most often think about. God and the devil make a pact, and Job endures it, and then is rewarded with a new family to replace the one that was slaughtered in the beginning, because that's completely the same. And then there's a version of the Job story that is told in poetry and makes up the vast middle of the book. So these ancient compilers or editors, they took the prose version, split it in half, put the first bit at the beginning, put the long chunk of poetry in the middle, and put the end of the little sliver of the prose story at the end. And we tell the story, when we paraphrase it, using the prose version at the beginning and the end, and we don't talk about the middle as much. It is the oldest section of the book, and there's no plot. Nothing happens. It is instead a series of dialogues about the nature of God and God's relationship to the world, and by extension to human beings and human suffering. In the middle section, what Job decides to do is to sit and wait for God to answer for his suffering. He's visited by a series of friends, not unlike a Christmas carol. The first, Eliphaz, comes to him and says that Job has been a good man, but then turns around and puts the blame on Job himself for his situation. Think now, he says, who that was innocent ever perished? Where were the upright ever cut off? As I have seen, those who plow iniquity and sow trouble reap the same. The second friend, Bildad, does more of the same. The third friend, Zophar, softens it a little bit and implies that Job must have done something wicked without knowing it, or tolerated some evil. These offerings on behalf of the friends follow this logical loop where God only punishes bad people. You are being punished, therefore you must be a bad person. Unfortunately, this way of thinking is alive and well and pernicious. We call it now the just world fallacy, that the idea that the world is fair. And we hear about this in popular culture and in the news all the time when we hear about what a woman was wearing when she was raped, or when the newscaster implies that Trayvon Martin should have been killed because he smoked pot. It's a way that we protect ourselves. If we can identify a reason why that person is hurting, why that person was shot and I wasn't, a reason why that person is homeless and I'm not, then I'm safe because I did the right things and didn't get hurt. Unfortunately, life itself is no respecter of this argument. And Job is no respecter of this argument. Job basically tells his friends that they can stuff it, and he will sit there until he gets a better answer. What I like best about the book is that it is this stubbornness, this anger, this refusal to accept an easy answer that God honors with God's presence. God doesn't sweep in the middle of the friends and the debates about who's right and who's good and who deserves what. God comes only after Job refusing the easy answer. When Job says, no, that's not fair. It's not the way the world should be. He says no. He says that woman didn't deserve to be raped, and Michael Brown didn't deserve to be murdered. No, there has to be another way. And what does God say when God finally does decide to make an appearance in response to Job's waiting? Job 38, then the Lord spoke to Job out of the storm. He said, who is this that obscures my plans with words without knowledge? Brace yourself like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer me. Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Tell me, if you understand. Who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know. Who stretched a measuring line across it? On what were its footings set? Or who laid its cornerstone while the morning stars sang together and all the angels shouted for joy? Do you hunt the prey for the lioness and satisfy the hunger of the lions when they crouch in their dens or lie in wait in a thicket? Who provides food for the raven when its young cry out to God and wander about for lack of food? Do you know when the mountain goats give birth? Do you watch when the doe bears her fawn? Do you count the months till they bear? Do you know the time they give birth? They crouch down and bring forth their young. Their labor pains are ended. Their young thrive and grow strong in the wilds. They leave and do not return. There's much more of this monologue. It's some of the most powerful writing in all of the scriptures, and I'd urge you to go home and read Job 38 to 41. It is phenomenal. And yes, I am a little bit partial to it because in it, God is pretty sarcastic. I like this idea that sarcasm has been blessed as something that is made in the divine image. But I also love it because God's answer is not, things are just, you just don't get it. God's answer, in as much as it's an answer, is this is the way things are. Cheetahs eat gazelles. The rains come when the conditions are right. Seasons happen. Deer are born. Here are the rules. This is the setup. It's not always pretty and it's not always nice, this system, but it is perfect. These are the rules. If there are a certain number of cars on the road being driven by fallible human people, it is simply a numbers game that some of those cars will veer out of control and hit other cars and kill passengers. It does not mean God is targeting those people's lives to be taken. In billions of human bodies made of trillions of cells, some of those cells will sometimes go haywire and become cancer. These are the rules. The laws of physics cannot be violated. It doesn't always make sense, but it always is. Now, this does not mean that we are helpless. As we witness this week with the shooting in Roseburg, we realize that setting up our system with easy access to firearms and little access to social services means a world full of school shootings. These are the rules. If we raise our atmospheric temperature through the use of fossil fuel 2 degrees Celsius, we will see a mass extinction. They aren't God's will, but they do submit to the rules of the system. We can make different decisions given the rules. We can change our society and our priorities, but the rules are firm. If we persist in this attitude towards masculinity and guns that we have, we get this many murder sprees. I know that doesn't sound hopeful. And in this way, we are invited to worship what I think of sometimes as the great impassivity or the great impartiality. That when we worship God the Creator as the Godhead, we're worshiping the one who is not picking teams. The system is perfect and loved. The ibis and the doe get their young. But we get to move within it, and we get to adjust and respond and live. We get to live together. We get to live in the company of men who lived like Francis. We get to live with animal friends who help us see another way to be in the world. These wonderful little alien intelligences we invite into our homes and love and marvel at. We get to be in awe of the alien intelligence of God, who has set this whole thing rolling and loves us enough to let us play in it without forcing our hands, without babying us, or without over-explaining. We get to be free, which is the ultimate condition of love.